Ange Postecoglou just went on the Stick to Football podcast and did the unthinkable. He confirmed every rival fan's worst insult. He didn't just call Tottenham a small club, he admitted that the Spursy tag comes from a lack of ambition at the very top. While the club languishes in 16th place after sacking Thomas Frank, Ange has revealed the 4 world-class signings Daniel Levy blocked that could have changed everything. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you why Spurs chose to buy below-average players instead of titles and the heartbreaking reason Ange Postecoglou thinks the club is built for profit, not trophies. The timing of this interview is a nuclear bomb. Tottenham have just sacked Thomas Frank with the club sitting in 16th place just a year after Ange Postecoglou was let go. Remember, Ange did what no one else could. He brought a major trophy to N17, winning the Europa League in Bilbao. But he was sacked shortly after a 17th place finish. Now, sitting across from Roy Keane and Gary Neville, Ange has opened up about the internal civil war at Hotspur Way. He praised the stadium and the training ground, but then he dropped the line that is trending worldwide. They are not a big club. But there is one specific detail about a 2024 recruitment meeting that explains exactly why Spurs are currently fighting a relegation battle while their former targets are winning trophies elsewhere.
We've just discussed it before. We've talked about yourself, Conte, Mourinho, Pochettino, Nuno, Thomas Frank now. There is an absolute sort of convoy of managers with great reputations who have walked into that football club and can't about turn the...
Only one won something, though.
Second season.
But my point is that everybody's deemed to have failed in their positions.
Yeah.
Even you. What is that culture mentality? What is that exists there that means it's difficult to
But
succeed?
you look at that list of names, and there isn't really a common thread through there as to what they're trying to do. And I do think part of Tottenham's DNA, for want of a better word, is they do like their team to play a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say with Fabrizio, they were going down that path. Although, at the same time, I think people have been too dismissive of Harry's influence through that period. Yeah. He's an unbelievable player. Yeah. If I had Harry the last 2 years, that first year we finished 5th, I'm convinced we would have finished in Champions League spots, So even him leaving, you can't plug that hole. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
So when you look at those managers, and like I said, they've gone from, Maurizio, who played a certain way and sort of, I think, fit the DNA. Then the big thing was, well, they haven't money, we need winners. So let's go for, Jose. Jose gets them to a cup final and they sack him the week before the cup. So you're going, if you're talking about winners, well, in a one-off game, I wouldn't mind Jose being my manager at my club, just for a one-off game. What happens beyond that is... And then, then it was Antonio, because, again, he's another winner, And then Antonio goes and I sort of come in, they say, well, we want the football, With Antonio, we made Champions League, but we didn't have the football. So we want the football and you've got the football, even though my DNA is I'll win as well. So then we go down that path, and then... So that's what I mean. It's a real curious in terms of understanding what are they trying to build? What are they? Is it... There's obviously... They've built an unbelievable stadium, unbelievable training facilities. But when you look at the expenditure, particularly, in their wages structure, they're not a big club. I saw that because when we were trying to sign players, we weren't in the market for those players.
Not a big club in sense of the wages that they pay. Because the money, the sort of the transfer fees... Not the biggest
they're
in the
always
league.
They're always there or thereabouts.
But there's a cap, is there, on wages that won't be broken?
Yeah. There's certain players that at the end of my first year when we finished 5th, for me, okay, how do you go from 5th to really challenging? Well, we had to sign Premier League ready players. But finishing 5th that year didn't get us Champions League. We didn't have the money. So we ended up signing Dom Solanke, who was I was really keen on him. I really like him. And 3 teenagers. I was looking at Pedro Neto and Buemo and Semenyo at the time, Mark Gahey, because I said, if we're going to go from 5th to there, that's what the other big clubs would do in that moment. And those 3 teenagers are outstanding young players. Brilliant young, and I think they'll be great players for Tottenham, but they're not going to get you from 5th to 4th and 3rd. But what was coming out from the club was that, no, we're a club that can compete on all fronts.
So
Let's look at the summer of 2024. Spurs had just finished 5th. The momentum was there. Ange told the board that to move from 5th to the title, they needed Premier League proven killers. The missed targets, Ange revealed he demanded 4 names: Pedro Neto, Mark Guehi, Antoine Semenyo and Brian Mbeumo. The reality, at the time, Mbeumo was available for a fraction of the £71 million Manchester United eventually paid for him. Instead, the board handed Ange 1 senior striker, Dominic Solanke, and 3 teenagers, Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall and Wilson Odobor. The impact? Ange's point is simple. Teenagers are for the future, but Neto and Mbeumo were for the now. By choosing potential over proven quality, the board effectively told Ange they weren't interested in finishing fourth. But the real insult wasn't the players they didn't buy, it was the lie the club told the fans. This is where Ange's analysis gets brutal. He highlighted a massive contradiction in the club's DNA, the wage structure trap. Postecoglou pointed out that while Spurs have an unbelievable infrastructure, their wage structure is designed for a mid-table team. When it came time to compete with the Big Six for elite talent, Spurs simply weren't in the market. Tactical sabotage: you cannot play Ange ball or Thomas Frank's high-intensity system without depth. When the injuries hit in 2025 and 2026, the teenagers weren't ready to carry the burden. The Spursy admission and confirmed that the Spursy mentality is a direct result of the club's hierarchy being satisfied with competing rather than winning. Long-term versus short-term, the club record £65 million spent on Solanke was a drop in the ocean compared to what was needed. While Arsenal and City were spending to stay at the top, Spurs were spending to stay efficient. Ange essentially argued that the club used the Europa League win as a shield to stop spending, leading directly to the 16th place crisis we are seeing today. This brings us to the defining question for the post-Thomas Frank era. Who would actually want this job now? Ange has laid the cards on the table. Any manager coming in knows they will be given world-class facilities but a small club budget for proven stars. With Pochettino's name being whispered and former players in the running, the choice is clear. Does the board finally listen to Ange's warning and buy Premier League proven stars this summer, or do they continue the cycle of sacking managers for the sins of the recruitment team? Ange's final verdict is the most chilling part of the podcast. He believes that until the club stops acting like a real estate business and starts acting like a football club, the Spursy tag will never leave. He won them a trophy and they still didn't back him. Spurs are now 16th, and the teenagers Ange was told to rely on are now being asked to save the club from relegation. I want to hear from you. Is Ange Postecoglou right? Is Spurs' lack of ambition the real reason we're in 16th place? Drop your comment below. Next up, I'm looking at the next manager odds. Is a Pochettino return actually possible, or is the small club tag too much for him to handle?